Hello and welcome to ENT News. My name is Eric Rennie, and today we have Sibel Yalin on our show to talk to us about her Thanksgiving and a few of the dishes she made. Before Sibel joins us, we have some footage to show of what she made.
Hi guys, so I'm Sibel and I'm here to show you what I made for Thanksgiving dinner this year. This is a book I really enjoy from a chef I love. His name is Yotam Ottolenghi. As of recently, I've been trying to go plant-based and eat more vegetarian meals. So he's really great. This is the book that I use for pretty much everything that you'll see in the dishes to come. For Thanksgiving, I made a combination of a few things. We did squash with chili yogurt and cilantro sauce, a ricotta and rosemary bread pudding, as well as a meringue roulade with rose petals and fresh raspberries. One thing that I really love about him is that a lot of his recipes you can find online for free. So it's perfect for students if you don't want to actually purchase the book. Some of the ingredients in this book in particular are a little rare, but living in New York City, we're pretty lucky to be able to have lots of spices around, so it's worth a shot, use what you got. If you have the resources and you have the accessibility to things, I say why not, experiment. Now that we're spending so much time at home, it's nice to get a little more flavor in your dishes and learn new ways to eat healthy that still taste really, really good.
Hey Sibel, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Eric, thanks for having me.
Of course. So you made squash with chili yogurt and cilantro sauce, ricotta and rosemary bread pudding, and meringue roulade with rose petals and raspberries. So to the best of your ability, how would you describe the taste of these three dishes? Let's start off with the squash with chili yogurt and cilantro sauce.
Sure. So the squash is really tasty. It's more savory, I would say. It's a little on the spicy side because the yogurt sauce actually includes a little sriracha in it. So you get a really nice kick with the spice, but the cilantro and the yogurt kind of help to balance that out. So, you can add or take away as much spice as you want to, according to what you like to eat. But it's definitely on the more spicy and savory side.
And how would you describe the ricotta and rosemary bread pudding?
The bread pudding I personally loved. It's really filling. Honestly, obviously it has a lot of bread in it. So it is actually made with sourdough bread. And the broth that you use to kind of soak the bread in is milk, heavy cream, rosemary, and onions. So, and as well as like nutmeg and cloves and a few other like warming spices. So it's got this really nice creamy texture to it. You put ricotta on it, so it's nice and like just thick. But still really like it's moist, it doesn't the flavor doesn't just feel really dry in your mouth. It's very warm and inviting. And then the base is actually made of turnip, so you get some veggies in there too.
Awesome. So a little healthy with a little bit of desserty.
Yeah, yeah, there's some eggs in there too, so it's even more filling because of that. It's just jam packed with like really diluted but filling ingredients. It's really good.
Cool. And how would you describe the meringue roulade with rose petals and raspberries?
That one was delicious. Honestly, not to toot my own horn, but like, oh my god, I went back for seconds, and I know a lot of other people did too.
I love the
Um,
presentation of it. Like you had it like rotating on like a lazy Susan for the video.
yeah. Yeah, my mom says she has that little like spinning season, which definitely helped with us filming wise. The meringue roulade. So, a funny story actually is that we were supposed to use parchment paper, and we only had wax paper for that recipe. I totally forgot to buy parchment paper. It's like the day of Thanksgiving, and we're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Let's just use wax paper. I'm sure it'll work out fine, right? Wrong. You're supposed to cook it at like 400 degrees. And wax paper is like apparently not that great and that high of temperatures. So, and I think some like the pan maybe wasn't the right pan to use either, but the wax paper kind of made the meringue portion of the dessert stick to it a little funny. You're supposed to roll it up like a log, and like it becomes this like rounded sort of like dish, and you
Hmm.
slice it in like in shape in slices that come out in these like circular patterns in the center of them. And because it got stuck to the bottom, we ended up having to like really carefully slide it out. And I like put it in this glass dish and pressed down all the meringue so that I still got that like crust sort of thing. Um,
Right.
and I made the cream separately and put the cream on top of it. So for an improvisational recipe, I'd say it went really well. Luckily, I was like, don't tell me all this work was for nothing, but it actually
Yeah.
was. I thought it was so delicious. And the meringue has got this like really nice crunch to it. It's very sweet.
Cool.
The cream is really like buttery and rich. The raspberry has that extra tartness on it. Like I said, I think I mentioned this in the video, but there's rose petals on the top, and there's actually crushed pistachios on there too. So it's got a little like salty and sweet, but mostly sweet, and the rose is very like soft and just gentle, and it's really luscious. I love it.
Awesome. I think that looks like amazing. I think that would probably be my favorite from what you made.
I'll have to make it for you sometime.
Totally.
You can come over
Please
to
do.
Thanksgiving next year.
So how long did it take you to make all these dishes, and how easy or difficult was each of them to make?
So they did take a while. I definitely made a strong effort in preparing for the big day, quote unquote. I sourced all of the ingredients the night before. I went to the supermarket really late at night to avoid all of the Thanksgiving rush, and I got mostly everything I needed. Woke up at like 9 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, and I just started getting ready. It required a lot of time management because the bread pudding at one point has to really just sit in a pan for an hour and a half, and as you like slowly press it into the broth to gain like the different layers to it. So it's while that was settling, I was making other things like the salad and the soup that you saw me pouring in. Um, so it was collectively probably from like 9 or 10 a.m. until about 4 or 5 p.m. And then the meringue I kind of just I let chill in the freezer, or sorry, in the fridge. And then when it was dessert time and it had time to sit for a little bit and harden a bit, I sprinkled the pistachios and rose petals on top. And I actually had a bowl of the rose petals out on the table so that our dinner guests could have like a little interactive experience and sprinkle the rose petals on themselves. So that was fun too.
Great.
It's not just like a here you go, here's this thing, eat it. It's like, come on, like interact with it a little bit, you know?
Totally. So you were talking about Chef Yotam Ottolenghi. You cooked a lot of recipes from his book. So what about him inspires your cooking? Do you identify with him in any ways?
Yeah, so I actually did a little research on him. He's from Jerusalem. He is a gay chef. He's a father with his partner Carl, and so that's just like I always love to support that community. So and I resonate with it as well. So that's always really great. So I resonate with him in that way. Also, I picked up this book about probably 2 to 3 years ago, not really knowing much about him. I just went to the botanical gardens, and I just am a really big nature lover and plant appreciator in general. So I go to the botanical gardens, and we're looking around in the gift shop with my partner, and we found this book, and we were like just so enthralled by the images in it because they're so vibrant and beautiful and seemingly like really flavorful. He and I both work in restaurants a lot, and so seeing that recipe book and just finding different ways to cook with plants that just were so rich and flavorful was a really awesome experience because it just made me feel better about not having like your basic salad or soup if you want to be a vegetarian, and just kind of learn to utilize the different ingredients and spices that are available to us that we don't really think to experiment with.
Yeah, and judging by what you made, everything seems really clean, very much vegetable based, but also like a lot of flavors are put in that.
Yeah, I like cooking raw too. Like just like from scratch, you know that there's no preservatives in it. There's no like weird
Yeah,
things in it, you know, like hidden cheeses somewhere, like fatty things that like you don't
right.
that's like
Stuff
hidden
you
off
can't
the
pronounce.
menu, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to just
Um,
like know what's in your dishes.
I totally agree. So before we continue with our interview, we have another clip from Sibel to show.
So I was lucky. I had some help in the kitchen this Thanksgiving, and my brother and my boyfriend helped me out with a few of the dishes. It's helpful to have a small little group of people. You know, you can make an activity out of it. Invite your friends over that you've been quarantining with. Invite your family that you know you're around anyways. Why not have something fun to do on a Friday night now that we can't go out really? You know. Um, I really enjoy cooking. I think it's a great way to just like have an experience and learn about cultures, learn about different flavors. Food is what fuels our body, what makes us feel good. And it all starts from the inside, you know, and that just exudes out into the world. So eat right.
So, judging from that video, your table was packed. So what else did you make, and who helped you with some other stuff?
Yeah, so Thanksgiving is my mom's favorite holiday. She always hosted at her house. It's always like a huge thing. So this year, it was, you know, a little smaller than usual, and she's an essential worker. Unfortunately, she had to work that day, and so it was my mission to really make her proud. She was passing off the torch to me, and I wanted to make it really great. So I made about, let's say, like 4 or 5 dishes. You know, the bread pudding, the squash, that whole thing. I made the salad with raspberries and peaches, and like a fresh made raspberry vinaigrette dressing with shallots. A zucchini and pea soup that we topped with feta cheese and lemon zest, which is another Yotam Ottolenghi recipe. So good. Would totally recommend that.
Awesome.
Um, my mom she marinated the turkey the night before, and that was like her parting gift to us before work. She's like, "All right, I'm leaving this with you. Just make sure you put it in the oven for 5 hours." And so we had like multiple things cooking at once. My brother made a sweet potato and marshmallow dish. My cousin brought some stuffing. It was great. You know, we had my one uncle came from out of town, which was nice. He drove, so like, and he's been like for the most part by himself, so it was still safe. And we were lucky enough to meet his brother for the first time, who came from Colombia about 2 weeks ago and had been quarantining. So it was really special.
Yeah, that's an awesome Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So do you feel that cooking and trying out new recipes has helped you through quarantine?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been just at home all the time, and I have plenty of time on my hands between like, you know, online school and needing to like meal prep for to get like in between classes, just have like a nice handy meal. I've definitely been trying to experiment with some things in the kitchen and help my parents out a lot because, as I mentioned before, they're essential workers. So this has kind of been my gift to them now that I have to be back home and I'm kind of riding out the pandemic here away from the city. I kind of use cooking as a tool to be able to give back to my family in some way. And it feels good, you know, like eating more plant based. It's just better fuel for your body. I feel more energized, less lethargic. You know, your body takes a lot more energy to digest meat. So I definitely can tell the difference from when I'm eating meat and when I'm not.
Cool.
Mhm.
So going forward, how do you think that healthy cooking and eating will affect or inspire you in the future?
So I think I definitely want to just eat way more vegetables in general. It's way better for the environment. You know, the meat industry is really horrible for our world in a lot of ways. There's a lot of grass and cattle that's raised in land that it should not be. There's a lot of reservoirs that are being drained in order to water these lands that shouldn't be there in the first place, that we're just kind of using to fulfill this need for the abundance and population that we have right now. So eating plant-based avoids a lot of pollution and draining of our resources that we need to really continue on as a species. And so I'm a big animal lover, and anything I can do to just kind of help spare a poor animal's life and also support, our local community and our local farmers, I'll take that chance. And, I can sacrifice some meat for the betterment of our world and for other species and to help out communities.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about stuff in like the Amazon, like deforestation, not only just because of wooden resources, but also like all these cattle ranchers now need all this space and fields, and how that's affecting our environment. Yeah, I haven't like I didn't really like hear about that either until like a few months ago, I feel. So it definitely has me thinking like of eating like a vegetable based diet more than meats, and like going back to what you said about feeling energized from like clean eating. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and it's also just it's a nice activity to do. We're all home and like there's not many things that we can do. There's not many places that we can go out to. So it's just like to add up a little spice in your life, like make a new dish every now and then, learn about a new ingredient, learn about a new cooking technique. There's just like, I think it's really important to try and stay inspired in these times and kind of break away from the mundane of just being in your house every like 24/7, Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have today. Thank you for being with us, Sibel.
Thank you so much, Eric. This was great.
Of course. Awesome. So join us next week when ENT News goes behind the scenes of this semester's tech production. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel. This is Eric signing off.